Quantity or quality when it comes to selling? What an important topic. On one hand, with quantity, you get volume. You get massive amounts of customers that don't require a lot of resources. Now, on the flip side, quality, you get high ticket prices, large contracts, more money, and more relationships. In this video, I'm going to help you unpack what the best strategy is for your business and actually figure out how to get the best of both worlds. Before we get started, if you want to learn how to grow your business, like this video and subscribe to this channel. Let's get started. Welcome to the Dub Channel, where we educate, entertain, and elevate CEOs, entrepreneurs, and sales leaders just like you. Now let's look at both sides of this coin. On one hand, the dream is to have passive income coming in the form of a self-service product. Why? Because we can make money when we sleep. There's nothing that's more enticing than that. Now on the flip side, there's nothing sweeter than getting a large contract size, especially one that is recurring, where customers continue to come back to us over and over and over again, and also refer us to their contacts. These two things are the dream, but what if we could have both? Now let me explain. Typically, what happens in sales-led organizations is they start as outbound focused companies, which means all their efforts are focused in acquiring leads and then converting those into prospects. This is basically your sales efforts. You're hammering the phones, you're sending those emails out, and you're trying to persuade people to come and take a chance with you and work with you. Now, what the smartest companies on the planet do is that they understand is that all companies have to start as outbound companies because they don't have acquisition channels and they haven't yet built a brand. But these smartest companies and leaders know that they need to change, they need to transform their efforts from outbound into inbound, which now means that people are coming to your website, they're coming to your social accounts, and they're picking up the phone and calling you and emailing you. That is the transition from outbound to inbound. Here's even a more alluring thing with the prospect of being an inbound company, is that ultimately as an inbound company, you eventually want to get to the point where you don't have to service your clients at all. In fact, they can completely be self-service. Now, this is why technology is such a massively important component to scaling your business. It allows you to go from outbound to inbound, and it allows you to go from human intervened to a completely self-service product. And when you combine those two things together, you ultimately get the dream, which is the truly scalable business. The other paradigm that makes this especially interesting for business owners is that they can transition from active income to passive income, which now means they can say no to things. If people ask them, hey, can you get on a flight? Can you come meet me? Or can you take me on as a new client? Or would you mind expanding your services into this realm to teach me this one thing? You as a leader that has an established brand and income stream can actually say the magic word of no, which is one of the most difficult words that you can say as a business owner that has not yet diversified, that has not yet created an inbound marketing machine, and ultimately a self-service product. No, that glorious word. No, I'm sorry, we don't do that and I can't do that, but we do have a self-service product. I know it sounds funny and counterintuitive that you want to say no to people, but there's such an important lesson here, which is to focus on your core competencies and the things that allow you to build process and systems so that ultimately you scale. Because if you said yes to every single customer and every single opportunity that came your way, the menu of products and services that you would have to create your business would be so much larger than it should be. Ultimately, it should be short and concise. Why? So you can build process and scale. Another paradigm shift to contemplate when it comes to quality versus quantity is this idea that ultimately, as a business owner or a leader, you want to build the brand of your company. Without your brand, you won't get referrals, you won't get word of mouth, you won't get inbound traffic, you won't get people to actually raise their hand and to fill out that form on your website, or to click a button, or give you a phone call, or reply to one of your emails. Ultimately, we all need to build brand, and we need to build a community, because that community ultimately becomes our best sales engine. So if you do want to end up being a completely self-service product, that's okay. But building relationships throughout the way is such an important part of this process. So no matter what you're doing, focusing on your community and building your brand is going to be such a massive part of your sales and scale strategy. Remember, this comes in the form of branding, social media, channel partners, and getting your name out there so that people make an association with what you sell to you, your team, and your company. Now, one of the most important things to figure out is what type of product do you ultimately want to sell and how diverse your product offering should be. Now, the ideal situation, if you want to have both active and passive income, is to have a healthy combination of a self-service product and a service-based product. In fact, some of the best advice that I've ever received in my life was from an investor and startup advisor. And he said this to me: your goal is to make sales overnight and build your brand over time. And he also said that your best investors are going to be your customers. People spend years of their life chasing investors, and that whole time they could have been chasing customers. If you have a viable product that you can start selling today, you can also find customers because you can start with a service component. Now, as you're building that service-based business, you can also have a self-service product which people can consume completely and totally on their time. And again, that's what's ultimately going to build that passive income for you. One thing that's really important to focus on when you think about your product is what are those prices. If you do an analysis on your target audience and you figure out your personas, you can actually figure out what their budget is and specifically what product they need. You might figure out that you have one customer type that is ready and willing to spend $99 on, let's say, a course. Or perhaps there's another type of client that's ready to spend $500 or even $5,000 per month for more of a white glove VIP service treatment. Now imagine if you could cover your entire market and have a self-serve product for $100, but also have a product that's 4 or even 5 digits per month on a recurring basis to acquire more high-end clientele. It is possible to do both things, and in fact, it's one of the best ways that we can be recession-proof. We have to spend some time talking about unit economics, because without understanding the economics, we can't really build a viable business. The first thing that I would recommend that you do is to figure out what is your customer acquisition price specific to the product that you're selling. If that product that you're selling costs $100 and your customer acquisition cost is $200, you've got a big, massive problem. Now, on the other hand, if you can figure out ways to use Facebook ads and to actually get enough clicks to convert into one client for $30 or $40 and you can sell them a $100 profit, you have over $50 or $60 of profit margin that you can work with. And as a result of that, you can scale up your advertisement and you can scale up your efforts. The same customer acquisition analysis applies to any type of product or service that you're offering, which leads me to my next point, which is the lifetime value of your customer. If your customers only come one time and pay you $100, the lifetime value ends there. That means that your average order value is the lifetime value of your customers, which is a massive problem. That is the opposite of what you want. You want people to keep coming back over and over and over again. You don't want them to buy one course for $100. You want them to buy 10, and ultimately you want them to upgrade and to get add-ons so that eventually their lifetime value can be in the thousands of dollars or the tens of thousands of dollars, because this is what opens you up for better advertising. You can spend more money on better advertisements to acquire customers that you know are going to ultimately have a massive lifetime value. And that is simply just good for business. Not to mention, it's going to bring more customer happiness. And what does that bring in? More referrals, more word of mouth, and ultimately more clients. Now, here is the magical part about all of this. If you start to build a brand and you start to build an experience where people are telling their friends, it offsets your customer acquisition cost. Remember that example where I said it costs $20 or $30 to acquire a customer that's going to invest $100 into a product? If that one customer brought their friend, you can divide their customer acquisition cost by the number of referrals that they brought. That is power. The more referrals means the cheaper your customer acquisition cost. And that, my friends, is what we call your blended acquisition cost. Now, this takes us to the black belt of unit economics. You get the best of both worlds, and ultimately your blended customer acquisition cost decreases and your profits increase. That's power. Hopefully this video changed your mindset on what the difference between quality and quantity is. The truth is that they both serve a different function. High volume, high profits, it's all good. But ultimately what we want to do is diversify our income sources into active and passive. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about how to grow your business, like this video and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to leave us a comment. We love getting those, and we will see you at the next video. Ultimately, your blended customer acquisition process. Ultimately, your blended customer acquisition cost. Ultimately, your blended customer acquisition process